Hi, folks. Chuck here again with another five movies, horror movies that I think you should know about because I see very little love for them and certainly very little discussion of them online. So hopefully this will motivate you to go out and track them down and find out a bit more about them and ideally to watch them. I've sort of referred a few times to the fact that I absolutely love Blair Witch style witches in both literature and movies. And this is a great addition to that sort of subgenre. The Wretched, it's about a kid and his family who go down to their local sort of beachside holiday resort, you know, suburb, and run afoul of an ancient witch that lives in the nearby forest. This witch is as malevolent as you can get. There's some really brutal stuff going on here. Some selective scenes of gore, not gratuitous, but certainly enough to flavour the entire movie. Quite a bit of body horror, and I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say, but a slight body snatcher vibe to it as well. Great performances, some amazing atmosphere, great scripting. Yeah, I feel more people should know about this and more people should definitely watch it. Vivarium. This is one of the most uncomfortable films I've ever watched without it being kind of in your face horror. And I hope a few people will start digging into this, what with the Backrooms movie coming out and maybe sort of things about liminal space and what have you being a bit more in people's minds. Vivariums is about a young couple that go to a rather weird real estate agent's place looking for a home, and they are directed to go to a housing village to check out one of the houses there that the real estate agent thinks will suit them down to the ground. So they go out, they have a look. The entire suburb is cookie cutter to what we would consider an eerie degree, but they think, oh yeah, this is quite nice, this is great. And then they try to leave and they can't find their way out of this development at all. And it just gets weirder from there. It's one of those, a lot of horror films don't give you answers, and I like those kind. There are some answers in this as to what's going on because there is a reasoning behind this whole setup by whoever is running it. It's made clear kind of who these people are fairly early on, but there's a definite reason why they choose to conduct themselves this way and why they have trapped this couple, in this house and in this development. Like I say, it's never outright terrifying, but there's just an awful feeling of tension and dread that just grows throughout the whole thing. And as much as the situation is awful, the effect of the situation upon the mental health of the couple is what really makes the movie. It breaks them down, and it's so uncomfortable, incredibly unsettling, definitely worth watching. And again, it's a movie that I just don't see talked about very much. Host. This is probably one of my favorite found footage movies. It came out during maybe just after the lockdown or during the lockdown, and it took full advantage of that because it's about a group of friends who decide to do a Zoom meeting seance, essentially. They have, as a bit of a laugh, they have contacted a medium who's going to take them all through it, and they're all at their respective houses around a particular town in particular locations, and so they start this seance, and bad shit happens, and it ratchets up quickly, but it also develops in a way that creeps up on the protagonists. The medium of the Zoom call is used as a huge strength of the movie, and the issues with technology and what you see versus what's actually going on is also explored. There are certainly plenty of jump scares. There's also just some really amazing ramping up of unease and atmosphere and tension. But yeah, this is a must watch for horror fans, particularly if you do like found footage movies. This is one of the best, in my opinion. Us, championed by Jordan Peele. I know this got a lot of attention when it came out, but it seems to have really fallen off the radar for a lot of people. However, it always has and still does tap into my particular fear of things that look human that aren't. And if you don't know, this is the story of people going about their everyday lives, unaware that beneath the ground there is a seemingly endless series of tunnels, again, tapping into that kind of liminal space, backrooms feel, where at some point there's been an experiment to create doubles of people who live up on the surface for some weird purpose. Um, and they've been left to their own devices for an unknown amount of time. The people who are running the experiment seem to have vanished, and the doubles are not happy about this and start to find their way to the surface. There's a lot of really uncomfortable questions about identity. There's a lot of really tantalizing yet terrifying hints about the extent of this experiment and the extent of these tunnels and the number of doubles that are down there. Um, so much so to the point that when I watched this for the first time, I watched it, really enjoyed it, was disturbed by it, went to bed, and then I lay in bed for an hour contemplating some of the bigger questions that this kind of generates about just what the hell is going on down there. There are not necessarily truths, but hints that kind of unravel in your head after the viewing, or certainly did for me. But I love this film, unapologetically love it. And it's not perfect, but it's bleak in the in the ways that I love horror movies to be. Again, it delves into that, non-humans pretending to be human trope that scares the crap out of me. Yeah, definitely one I would recommend anyone should watch. And finally, a horror western, because I do love a good horror western, The Burrowers, which came out, I think, in the 90s, and it's been very hard to find, particularly on physical media, which I prefer to streaming for various reasons. But this is terrific. It's, ye olde westy, and a bunch of pioneers are kind of, making their way across the prairies and what have you, and start to realise that there is something living under the ground that views humans as prey. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's a fairly simple movie. The performances are great. The scripting is great. The pace is excellent. It's really, really creepy. It's really frightening. There is an element of sort of Lovecraftian horror to this. Not cosmic so much, but Lovecraftian in that the idea of, I guess without giving too much away, devolved creatures, living down in the darkness that only ever come up to feed, which again sort of taps right into some of the things that I love to see in horror movies. So yeah, The Burrow is highly recommended. Definitely go track it down. And then so this time around, please have any of these are any of these movies that you've seen? Are they ones you've enjoyed? What are some movies that you think don't get enough love, particularly horror movies, also science fiction if you like, that you think more people should be aware of? If they're ones I haven't seen or don't know about, then I'd love to go out and sort of track them down, because a lot of these ones I only found out about because people talked about them online or at parties or in bars or what have you, and I wouldn't have heard about them otherwise. So please, pop your comments down below, let me know what you think, and we'll do it all again soon.